Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk about One Piece chapter 852, The Germa Failure. Before I begin, I will just say, save Reiju. That's all that matters, just save Reiju. This was a very interesting chapter to see the bond between these two siblings, and I just would be remiss if I did not vocalize my overall feelings on this. Like, save Reiju, man. Like, she does not deserve to go down with the other Vinsmokes. But anyway, let's get into the chapter itself. Let's talk about it. If I was to give this chapter a word to describe it, I would say it's setup. It's largely a setup chapter because in the chapter we have a few things being established. We have the continuation of the Jinbei releasing Luffy and pretty much setting up that Luffy is now looking for Sanji, so it establishes that nothing really important happens in that particular plotline besides the characters I guess communicating what they know, communicating the general situation. It is pretty cool to see Jinbei helping. It was also a pretty interesting little thing that Jinbei said when he mentioned how capable Big Mom's underlings are. I think that kind of line is there, and we're going to be seeing a lot of capability from Big Mom's subordinates. It was really just showing that in terms of the Big Mom setup, in terms of her organization, it does rely a lot on her kids, on her family that have these really peculiar abilities like the book, prison, and all that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when Luffy goes and instead of fighting the entire Big Mom organization, he is pretty much fighting people one by one. Because this might be the cue that as an organization, the Big Mom army is really strong. But if you were to take down each person one by one in a relatively isolated kind of battle scenario, I think it would be a very interesting thing to see. Anyway, aside from that, it's cool to see Luffy out and about. It's cool to see that he's hungry as heck, but he's still going around looking for Sanji. And it is a really good shot when we see Luffy pretty much hanging on to that guy's neck. It's funny. It's a really funny segment. Anyway, the next part that really gets set up is the whole Sanji and the Reiju part, where Sanji is explaining to Reiju the things that are going on and what's going on with her memory. Now this might be my favorite part of the chapter because it does, it's always nice to see Sanji and Reiju talking, but this time Reiju gives Sanji a lot more information, gives him some closure on the whole aspect with his mother, really talks to him about that, and we also see that Reiju believes Sanji. That was the biggest thing. Sanji took the moment to tell Reiju what had actually happened when she lost her memories. And then we got the cut to Luffy, so time passed, and then we come back to them. Reiju is fully on board. She believes Sanji. And that just goes to show the underlying trust between those two characters. Like, even in such a bad situation with the Vinsmokes, Reiju still trusts Sanji. And I guess given the backstory that we're told through Reiju about their mother and her struggles with living in the Vinsmoke family, it makes sense that Reiju would believe in Sanji, and I think that really is a good sign of the love between siblings. And Reiju does say something that's pretty disturbing. She pretty much mentions that she's been modified so as to not be able to disobey Judge, and if that's the case, that's kind of tragic. It's unfortunate that it's to that degree, but I wonder how serious she is. Is she speaking of metaphors, like out of duty, or like this kind of attachment, or is she like literally saying that there is something in her head that tells her she can't disobey? It would be very interesting to see how that comes into play. Anyway, Reiju is now the effective way out, the same way she saved Sanji back in the good old days after Sanji suffered a lot and she could get things set up and wait for the right opportunity. She was able to save Sanji. Now in the present time, she's done it again. She swapped out the bracelets. She's given Sanji the ultimatum, like he can go out there and worry about Zeph later. Like, most likely Big Mom doesn't care. And that's a pretty interesting statement from Reiju. I hope it's true, but we're going to really have to see how things go when it comes to that whole scenario. Anyway, the flashback and finding out how Sanji and his mother felt about Sanji was heartwarming. It was adorable to see the mom getting excited whenever Sanji made her food or when he told her to get well soon. I think for a lady that tried so hard to maintain her children's humanity, I think it's interesting to see her so happy. I do wonder how she felt about her other 3 kids, and it would have been interesting to kind of explore the feelings that she had about her other kids. Regardless, I'm glad that the mom did have some kind of light in her life if it came from Sanji. And Reiju, as we can see, Reiju was also there with her mother. So that's actually a pretty good thing to see, that Reiju did have that relationship. Anyway, moving on. Other parts of the chapter that were interesting, we did get a kind of update with Smoothie. She was just telling us that they plan on killing Luffy effectively if it means it's being easier. We don't know where Big Mom is. I would assume that the fight with Brook is still going on, because it looks like it's still a bit of a battle in there. And if that's the case, like, yeah, Brook, good. I don't care if he's running away like crazy. Good for him actually sticking up for himself. Man, hopefully Brook is still in recognizable shape afterward. Like, Big Mom's strong enough that she doesn't have to beat Brook by killing him. Like, she can beat him down without killing him. So we'll have to see what happens there. Anyway, other parts of the chapter. No, pretty much this chapter is Reiju telling Sanji, like, the Straw Hats are some of the best people you're gonna meet, so don't waste them and just go out and find Luffy. And on that note, it was actually kind of interesting to see Sanji despair for a little bit when he realized that it was all for nothing. And then, you know, that's where Reiju goes in and picks him up. You know, Reiju is a really good sister. Like, given this crap sack situation that they're in, she's a pretty good person. And knowing that she was conspiring from the beginning to help Sanji out of this, it's very heartwarming. And knowing that she's willing to go down with the ship, again, you know, pretty impressive on Reiju. Like, she is by far one of the best parts of this arc. Anyway, let's see, any other interesting things that were happening here? Well, I guess Sanji got his call to action, Luffy's on the way, and Jinbei did point out that it might be a rebellion, which is interesting, right? Why would he say rebellion? Because he is formally out of the Big Mom crew, right? Like, that's what he did. He went through that whole wheel to try and get out. Did something go wrong? Anyway, it's full on, or maybe it's just like that the rest of the crew of Big Mom just don't know that Jinbei quit. Anyway, full on rebellion. It would be cool if we could get the Sun Pirates in here, but since the Sun Pirates, a lot of them are merfolk, it might not work well, but we're going to need some fishermen Sun Pirates. And hopefully Peckham's will make his appearance again soon. It'll be very interesting to see where we go from here. I'm pretty excited. Unfortunately, next week there is no One Piece chapter. You know, I know it's not Oda's fault. I know that Shonen Jump are the people who tell Oda to take these breaks, but it's unfortunate because we're about to enter, I think, a pretty exciting set of chapters from here. I think the next 3 chapters are going to be relatively more exciting than this one, because this one's just setting up where all the players are for this particular scenario. So we're going to have to see. Anyway, guys, no more talking. I think that's all I want to say about this chapter. I really like this chapter. You know, Reiju is a highlight for me. So getting to see her, it's pretty good. And I'm just happy that she didn't doubt Sanji, because that would have been really frustrating and annoying to have to deal with. But she didn't, because she's a competent character. So, guys, tell me what you thought of the chapter, and until next time, I hope you have a great day.